My VIP cohort, we are going to be doing a list of the type of things that you should be my VIP cohort. We are in for a treat today, and we are going to be looking over my influencing books from my book, Don't Immerse Yourself in That Environment. I've created a tier list, and the tier list, disclaimer, it's used by Claude, and it gives like just overall crafted design images. It's not the actual book picture. So it's going to be more of that label. And we're going to go between the tier list and like an image so you can see what it is, because on the tier list it's too small for you to see. And we're going to be going over and ranking how I rank my books from each category in that list. So I'm going to just put this out there. A lot of my stuff is AI created. And I know some people will be like, that's heresy. I hear you. Yes, and I'm not going to deny it. Yet, my VIP blog has a lot of good books that I've gone through with Notebook LM and podcasting and just going down, and I've been learning that. But that takes time. But the books that I put into my book, they were those that read deeply with me, and I curated that list for the explicit purpose of making sure that people understand how important it is to have a book list that is for you. You do not need to go read 1,000 books. You need to find like 5 books that are really deeply emotionally connected to you and study them hardcore. That's where I believe has a lot better results. And then you find the other people that dedicate like their 5 books as well. The only time that I would say that you need to go to like that 1,000 marker is if you're trying to be like CEO level and like founder level, because you have to see many fields and bring them together and then start getting people delegated. But if people understand their 5 main books that are uniquely tied to them, so for the point of reference, like How to Win Friends and Influence People, everybody recommends that. It's not bad to have. Yet you need to find like one of those unique books that are not talked about heavily, yet give you that edge so you're not just the same as everybody else. That's what I'm trying to go at. And I had a different video of why to make a book list. So without further ado, let's jump right in to this. Wrong scene. There we are. Yeah, I'm already connected off. So let's hop off into what I got here. On my screen, you'll have this. Let me zoom a little bit out. So this is the list, and here is the types that we got that we'll be going over today. We have business strategy books, and these will be the ones that are listed. We have finance and wealth, these 2. We're going to have marketing and business thinking. We have philosophy and personal mastery. We have memoir. And we have reference. And in relationship. These are going to be the ones that we'll go over today. And some of these lists will not go into each explicit book, but more or less their category that they're associated with. So like 7 books inside of this, we'll be explaining each book inside of it as to why I think it is, but I'm going to mainly focus on like the category. So you have that in rule. So let's start with the business strategy and entrepreneurship. How would I rank business strategy and entrepreneurship? I would rank it out of all these, I'm going to put it in S tier. And the reason I'll tell you that is when you understand business in like a whole limelight, it's very important to know like how each component operates. So if you can know how to get the strategy, do the execution, not so much of the sales and marketing, that's a different one off to its own side and different category on here. But let's just say you understand how to get the SOPs, getting the metrics done, getting the business bank accounts done, looking at the balance sheet, the P&L sheet, what type of vision needs to go for the corporation, what type of dilemmas you have in HR, how do you hire. That's like a lot of the whole broader spectrum. And just getting that down right makes all the other things go right. If you fuck up on this process, you're not going anywhere. That's why I have my PISP, not PISP, PIP framework. PISP is if you put in SOPs instead of infographics. So here's what I would say is more important. Having the framework that is right, then having the tools that elevate you when you're getting the foundation done properly. So, yeah, that's why I'll be ranking building, strategy, and entrepreneurship as S tier. Now, the books that were associated with these 7, how would I rank them? Because I'm going to put them in their own category. Launching a Leadership Revolution by Chris Burdy and Orrin Woodward. Highly recommend. And one point that I would make. They distill concepts that are usually harder to grasp in more of a step-by-step process. That's what I found with their books. I don't like their products as much, but their books I have no gripes on. I label them extremely highly, above average. So if you understand how influence works and how they use their ladder methodology and so forth, you will be setting yourself apart huge in the whole market. And the unique thing about them is they're systems engineers, so they always think in regards of how to build something. So it really emulates perfectly. And I would honestly say they're better than John C. Maxwell. I know he made a great business in leadership, and I'm not rebuking that. What I'm trying to say here is they're more unique, and it hits points much better that you will take away from that book much more than, how would you say it? John C. Maxwell. That's what I got. When I read Launching a Leadership Revolution, and let's say Developing the Leader, or the laws of leadership, 21 laws of leadership, I looked at both and I started thinking the 21 laws of leadership or developing the leader or launching a leadership revolution. I would highly recommend the launching leadership revolution first, just because it goes really good at looking at John C. Maxwell and other leaders and then building off that and making their own framework. And it's just phenomenal. You got to read it to understand it, or plug it into a large language model. Now, $100 million Offer by Alex Hormozi. I guess they kind of lumped it in here. I would say, strategy-wise, yeah, it's there. His book on offers, I would probably put money models before that, but it put offers in here. And that was before the money models came out when I did that. So if we just look at Alex Hormozi in general and plug all 3 books besides the offers, yes, he's in business strategy more. His offers is more playing to the sales route, and I'll definitely take gripes on that one. This is my first time doing the tier list. Yeah, if you need something that is very punchy, more B2C, and like know how to get an offer across that they just need to feel like it is stupid not to take that value that you give, that's where you need to go. Now this one below Alex Hormozi. Alex Hormozi's a beast, yet this one is like flipping fundamental. It's either you go to college and you get your MBA or you read this. That's how I always think back in my head. And the reason that it's so important is because the personal MBA is pretty much your Bible for business. Like, there is no other book that I've read that was very comprehensive. And then when you hop onto his website and he just has hundreds of books that are associated, well, it feels like hundreds, but it's a very curated list on his personal MBA books. And you can go into each category and figure out how to develop each part that he goes over very well. So like if you want to know negotiations, go hop into there, do that. Maybe take Chris Voss, this one in this video. Blend those two together, you're set. Like, he is no joke. And even if you just read this book by itself, you are in a position where you can do business without effing up badly. The only way you F up badly is if you just say, screw the book, I only read it once and never study it again. The book is meant to be like sitting next to your desk and opening up when you're having like problems. That's what's so powerful about it. And that's where a book should lead off to. You should be opening it or having it in Notebook LM where you're studying it and going back to it. If you have the book that you go back to, that's where it's like, boom. That one I definitely put in here. And I've been going hard. Your Next 5 Moves by Patrick David. Another S-tier book. I cannot say this enough. That book made me start seeing of like huge business training programs like Vistage, Y Culminator, all that type of stuff. He was the first one that got me aware to that. And then the matrix models that he created for like how to do your strategy and so forth, where you want to put your vision. It's just like a fundamental great class of strategic vision, motto, goals, and all that, all combined together to get those, I would say, SOPs and all that. If you haven't read the book at least once, you're missing out. Plus, he's a big advocate of the blue ocean strategy. That's what his like go-to bread and water is. Bread and water. Woohoo, yeah. No. It's his main go-to. Take that back. And there's good reason in that. That book is phenomenal as well. But going back to Patrick Bet-David, yeah, you should definitely pick this up, at least read it once, just to see how everything comes together. And if you're lost, I always recommend go back to Notebook LM, pull up what these books are, because they will get you faster to the point that you want to remember instead of just going through books over and over again. But if there is that book that you must reread, Personal MBA. All right, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Self-explanatory, right call. I always think to him, because I heard this from Orm Woodward at the top. What you do right, people will follow 50% of the time. And what you do wrong, they'll do 100% of the time. So when Dan Martell's saying, he was like arguing, stop trying to get somebody that's just going to copy you exactly. That's not going to happen. In my own head, it's like, if they can get at least 50% of it right in the beginning, and then if they shoot past that, they're elite, and then you hold tightly to them. They'll just be a flippant S-tier player. I go above the top grading book and just go S-tier, because there's just some people that you can't categorize. They are just that flipping good, and that's where you need to start thinking in that regard. So yeah, Buy Back Your Time, pretty much estimate the cost of what you need to do. Stop going for the small task. Automate processes. He is pretty much like the modern day Tim Ferriss, just doing it now to get more time back. And Tim Ferriss's book is Phenom, The 4-Hour Work Week. I just don't believe that it's going to be 4 hours. It's 4 hours in the regard if you can put your focus into it. But you should always be thinking like, this is me. I'm just going to continuously work on it. Keep working out constantly, consistently. You can have your break days. I'm not going against that. But I mean, like, unless you have an injury, you should just be doing work constantly. Doing those workouts. Even if it's just 15 minutes. 15 minutes. 15 minutes. It stacks up over time. It's like if you grab a black cup of coffee or a cup of coffee with a whole ton of sugar and creamer. Those stack up over time. And you'll be surprised. And there's nothing wrong with having sugar or creamer. But it's the regards that we fail to look at the small, minute things that get over. Falling back to Dan Martell's Buy Back Your Time. I would say read this again and again. And if you can't hire the people in here, get the flipping AI and automate it yourself. Hop on to Vipelex.com, go to the blog, take a look at the software, get your Claude, get Codex, do out the Hermes, do out Claude, do schedules and routines. If you need to, get NAN working locally onto your thing, or use PowerShell and it runs the code inside. It will break. There will be things that needs maintenance. That's why I live by 2 laws. I am not the one that believes in like compound interest and all this and that. I do believe that it's real. I don't believe it's the 8th wonder of the world. Because the 7 other wonders were buildings. Then they just said, oh, the 8th wonder's this. I'm like, please, you just want to capitalize off these wonders. But you know what happens when you wonder long enough? You start seeing that, I see where you're playing at. That's not how the game runs. You got to be obsessed over those things. And buying back your time is just one of those things. To free up your mind and start automating things. If you can't do it humans, use the large language model. The excuses have eroded. Let's go deeper. QLA by Dan Pena. Fucking beast. And I know I'm cussing here, but he's the one that woke me up to acquisition and mergers and looking at the deals that nobody are looking at. So even if you can't do the acquisition at this time, even though he would argue, do it anyways. Very like straightforward. He even says below here, aggressive, high intensity approach to scaling wealth through deal making and corporate turnarounds. Heck yeah. So it's just pretty much like looking for deals that can be made. Heck, even being the middleman in between an acquisition is very powerful. And then just building up that social network and knowing your stuff. He is no jokes all in on this, because an acquisition can shoot up your wealth fast. And if you know how to implement systems that make the process so easy for transitioning, you're going to be irreplaceable. These types of events require people that know their stuff, know their skills, and know how to transfer things smoothly. And if there's bottlenecks and setbacks and so forth, they know how to navigate. And that's where this book gives the overall framework, and then you have someone that's system thinking, and then bam. Then Cody Sanchez, Main Street Millionaire. Came across this. Phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's pretty much, how would you say? Dan Pena, but looking at all the boring business models and like going to the Chamber of Commerce. Because most people won't tell you. If you want to build your networks, you can do conventions. That's all fine and dandy. But if you're not around your chamber, that's where like people go to make deals happen, gatherings, shaking of hands and so forth. That's where money goes. How many times in high school have you heard, go to the Chamber of Commerce? Not frequent. And then how many times do you hear, hey, go to a coding convention or go to a business convention? I tell you what, it's not frequent. Yeah, but if you can get in those niche circles where money flows, it's game over. In a good way, of course. And now, let's go to the next one. How would I rank those books? I am going to put it at S tier as well. Now, let's go back here. Finance and Wealth. Alrighty. I am a big advocate of accounting more than personal budgeting. That's just what I'm going to give off to you. And it's so important because it gives you the ability to attack and defend, and you get better analysis of what's going on. If you can't account, you're just walking aimlessly. You can have the personal budget, you can have all that. But where is the points where you can start looking at the asset classes and so forth? Start looking at other businesses' annual reports, their earning calls, their whatever, their balance sheets, their equity. How much are they leveraged in debt? All those types of things. Enterprise value, and the list goes on. And I would honestly add in some KPIs and OKRs for their finances and measures. And I think there's another one, but I can't list it off the top of my head, so I'm not going to butcher it. So wealth is another thing as well. Wealth, it takes into regard of every area of your life, I would say. Pretty much like your health, your finances, your relationships, your ability to maneuver and go places, travel, and time freed up. And there's a whole many things. You can be rich, but I don't think you can be wealthy. Wealthy is like a whole behavior. You can create dynasties. I would say someone who is like extremely in debt, but knows how to use the debt to acquire assets is a wealthier person than just somebody preaching save. Or as somebody does that plan in one country where it's good and then plays conservatively in another. So if one fails, he's safe in the other. He has dual residency. He's playing by the globalist standard, not just by one nation, and adheres to laws and ordinances because he's just that good. That's a wealth play, I would say. And having the ability to move around is so important. And the reason I say that's where wealth happens, look at most of the billionaires that we have today. They're immigrants. They come from other countries. Yet I do find that it's more probable that they have other residencies that they can fall back to if the event something fails. They are able to move, and that's something so important. I came to this concept when I was writing my one book. Primordial Leadership. And it went over a mobile fortress. That's what I called it. You want to be able to, one, be secure like a castle where you can move about inside of it and still feel fortified. And then the ability to move. So if you need to go places, you can attack and still hold that strong fortress at heart. That's why it's important to have that mobile. And the more abilities that it can take shape and form and be adaptable, the better off it will be. So without further ado, let's keep going. So Changing the World Order by Ray Dalio. And I recommend his other book, Principles. That's the way you should be trying to do it. And then if you needed another one, go to Tony Robbins' book, I think The Holy Grail of Investing. I think that was the one. Let me check that out quick. Yep, that's right. The Holy Grail of Investing. This is the one that woke me up to more of a wealth play. Because if you can have the ability to diversify outside of just one key area. So let me say this. If I have real estate, I have an LLC that I own 100%, and I know how to do Andy S. Grove's like systems and high output management and use like signals and so forth. I have direct line inside. I have private equity. I have, let's say I buy a sports team. I have oil company. I have an index funds. I have bonds. I have gold and silver. And let's just say even more. I don't have these at these time, but I'm just like listing off all these types of investment types. The more that I get spanned off into those areas, the more off if one fails, I'm in a good spot. And then if I know how to play those cards all right, I'm going to be very well set. Because I'm not just playing in one place, I'm playing in different fields that don't have direct coordination with each other. And it's important to see that. And that gives you a huge power gain because you're not just constrained to the one point. If I just told you, save money, 401k, Roth IRA, and then you just get constrained by that, you're going to be stuck. The one that I admired deeply was Peter Thiel's doing his, what was it? I think it was PayPal. before it launched its IPO, he had like the shares inside of his Roth. He worked a deal inside. He pretty much let that one catapulted to its IPO phase. It might have ups and downs, but he knew he bought it cheaply. And then once it stabilized after its time, maneuvered it into Facebook and Palantir, I think. Yeah, I think so. Those, and then he has pretty much like billions set aside in the Roth. I was like, holy crap, man. That was one that I liked as play. Now, can everybody do that? No. But if I had to play the game and go for it, I'd rather play it and do it smartly than not do that. Those are the type of moves that I want to understand. You can do living trust. You can understand structures of LLCs. That's another play that you can do. The game is so elaborate, and you can even do life insurance as well and start using that to get loans as well. Got to be careful, but you can just create so many layers of getting wealth and loans that your tax obligation goes down. Now, I am not a tax attorney, so just keep that in mind. So these are just 2 books that I put in the book, but there's so many more. And the more that you understand, you're just going to be well better off. So let's go here. I'm going to place this in A tier. Both of these. No. These 2 books I'm going to put in B tier. Finance and Wealth in general is an A tier, but those 2, it wasn't the greatest put, but they're still good reads. And then Fu Money by Dan Lok, because I went too long on that. Just pretty much FU money. So if you are thinking about every single purchase, then you are not being able to live the life that you want. You want to be able to just pull out the card, do whatever you want, and not think about it. If you don't have that ability, you're not making enough. You're living paycheck to paycheck. At this time, I am as well. But when you look at things for the long haul, you want that few money for finance. You don't want to be stressing over the small stuff. Because if a small thing takes you off and then you're just living under a bridge, it's not fun. So, yeah. You want food money. You want to be able to buy things without thinking about it. I live by the principle of like 1/3. Have 1/3 always on standby, like a deployment phase. If you have 1/3 of it ready to go, you can go a little below it. You could say like 1/5 of it at times too. But I just done that just to keep a reserve ready for deployment if you want to use it to acquire assets and so forth. But if you go below that, it's like that. It just keeps you above water. And then you have, what's the other? The 1/3. So always keeping a reserve on hand. And then it's like if you can't afford it twice, you can't afford it at all. I forgot who said the quote, but it was a rapper. So just keep that in mind. That is not my quote. I just see that one as a smart way of doing it. Because if I wanted like a car that's $100,000 and I only have $150,000, but I can't afford it twice, then that's not the right purchase in my mind. Then you have taxes and so forth, so you gotta understand how those play out. So yeah, let's switch to the other one, and I'm gonna speed this up more. Marketing and business thinking. Now you might be saying like, well, marketing and business thinking, and then like business strategy and entrepreneurship. These 4, I'm going to rate these 4 way higher than what marketing and business thinking are. So this is Marketing by Seth Godin. Was a phenomenal, just all around book on understanding how marketing views things. And the part that I took away from it that was big was that marketing is seeing what others don't see. That's pretty much it. Like if I see a light bulb and people just say it's a light bulb, but I see of it as that it can do light shows for music events, and we can shift the hue of light to make it more spotlighted on people. That's how I would show marketing, and I would try to poster that to its unique way of visualizing it. That's how you have to see in a marketing perspective. Then the 4 is just pretty much like, these are the major companies that own power. And then once they own power, they keep among themselves, and they can really hold grips of how an organization works and can outbeat. And it's kind of like a monopoly, but they shift all their assets into different classes, so it's not. So it's just pretty much those who hold power that you have to adhere by. And they shift over time. Because like in the 1990s, there was like Coca-Cola and so forth, and then Home Depot and so forth. I forgot the other two. But then once you got into like the technology, after the dot-com crash, and then it started rehabilitating really hardcore in like 2010s and after 2008, it just took its size of the market hardcore. So let's go back. Alrighty, let's do this. Philosophy, no. It's this one. I'm going to put this one A tier. Just those two books are great. But marketing and business thinking, I'm going to put at C tier. Some books are great at marketing, but I think having a better business strategy and so forth in the beginning and just doing the reps is better than just thinking on it. So then we're going to have next one. Philosophy and personal mastery. Here's the part that I'm going to say. And it will be critical. If you do not understand some sort of philosophy, you will be ruled by those that do. In philosophy, people will try to tell you it's all these other things, yet it's simply power. Philosophy is getting other people's way of thinking and way of doing onto others. And it's results based. If I can get a following 100,000 people and my way of thinking is doing payment gateways, and that's the only way of things working. Its viability is through the results. You must have a payment gateway to do anything in life, to exchange. Even if we went back 1,000 years and we wanted to exchange, we need to have a payment gateway of sort, of which we can exchange. And it was peer-to-peer. So pretty much like I would have silver and I would barter with another person and say, I only have 10 silver for that rug that you have. This is just a scenario. And it would be like, okay, 10 silver. And then they exchange. Or I could get it down to 8. Whatever the point may be. And that's how the exchange happened. It was just peer-to-peer, the hand of a hand, and what is able to be done. Now imagine if there was a tax collector there that had to take 2 silver each time. That's a gateway. That's now someone's hand has to be in the center of each transaction. Now it's evolved from just like somebody in between in record keeping and bookkeeping to now it's all this software that you must have in place. That's what took only 3 steps is now probably 10 steps. Even though it's simpler today, it's more complex and can be shut down if things are acting up. There's still cash out there and checks and so forth, and it's good to understand those as well and understand how to do all those types. Yet if you don't know how to get that digital payment gateway set up, whether through Stripe, Authorized Net, Braintree, and so forth, that's not going to happen. Now, this is the point where I'm saying with philosophy. My philosophy holds power because it's a requirement and it's an exchange of resources that everybody uses. It's mandatory. And then here's the point. Whether you like it or not, it's always happening. You might use MasterCard because you like them more, or you might have Visa, but they still do the same thing, and that's where power is held. You still adhere by the government rulings. But if it's for everybody, it's not for me. So you have to find the markets that keep others in line with that. And that's where philosophy goes out. You have your few select, but they go off and then they spread it. That's where things can go very massive. But you have to keep it very focalized on what is the main point of this. And that's where philosophy goes. And personal mastery, if you do not understand how to get the external and the internal world working in unison, you will never have the things you want. So here's the example. If I am such a great Stoic or any type of teacher, Socratic method, and I understand my inner world, like the Buddha, like the Tao Li Chen, it's Lao Tzu, but there's so many authors of the inner world, but I never go out and understand the external world, reading like Niccolo Machiavelli, Sun Tzu, or Miyamoto Musashi. None of those. I'm pretty much just selling myself short of what must be done. Because the external world and the internal world must find their balance. But if I only go after the external world, let's say the Niccolo Machiavelli, the Sun Tzu, and then Thucydides is another power person, and Miyamoto Musashi. I only do those. And they are great reads, and they do have a little bit of inner, but I can't master my inner. I'm going to be a wreck with my behavior because I'm only going after the external. You have to find a blend of both and then work it off there. And there is no right or wrong in that. It's you having to figure out what blends right. And you have to accept the divinity and consequences of each one that you choose. So if I go clear cut a forest and it's now starting a dust bowl out of nowhere, that's a responsibility and accountability with me because I valued the profits and I did something that was irrehensible to get more. I have to look in those regards, yet sometimes if I was willing to accept those consequences and make it get done because there is something that can improve it backwards, people may hate me for it, yet I knew what I was going to accept. And that's where a leader comes into play. People are not going to be pleased with every action you do. So you must have your inner and external mastery. So let's go into these books. So The Man's Search of Meaning. Pretty much, how would you put it? It made me cry. That was the one book. Logos. What is this school founded on? Dang it. I forgot his type of flippin' psychology that he invented. My bad. Viktor Frankl. I just remember that he went through the concentration camp and he could only focus on what was around him and the small things and the choices that of his inner mind, whether to let himself fall into despair or just keep moving each and every day. And the meaning in life is finding others' meaning. That was the end of the book. I did not quote that correctly. I might need to revisit this one. But I just know I was crying through that book and it was phenomenal. It was dealing with more of the choices that we have in our inner world and so forth. And it was great. All right, I'm going to skip that one. The 12 Rules for Life, Jordan Peterson. It was, honestly, it wasn't bad, but I wouldn't say it's like the best book I've ever read. It was just very good on like understanding some of the harder parts of life and then just taking a unique advice on how to view the world. So I would say give it a read, but it's not too crazily. Let Them by Mel Robbins. That was a great book. Because great in the regard of that if you're trying to force people into like your way of thinking or trying to change them, you can only change yourself. You can create environments which the answer to their thing is coming to you, yet still they have to make those choices. I can't just say pay now and grab someone's finger and tap the pay button on the computer. It's imperialistic and it's not the right way to be living life in the regards. There has to be some semblance of choice. And in that choice, to let them just act and to separate yourself when need be is the far better result in getting your own inner peace. So, highly recommend. Rules of a Night by Ethan Hawke. Whew, this was great. This was the book that honestly gave me the understanding of faith in a better light. Because everyone was telling me faith and all this. Just have faith. Just have faith. And I'm like, what the heck is this faith that you just spout on about? And what I came to with this one was like one chapter. And it's fictional. It was based on letters, but then like reinterpreted by the author. But it's like, you came to this world in a magical and majestic way, and you shouldn't not disregard that. And that's how you should view faith. It's just like, of all the things in the universe and expanding your life right here, right now, as small as like a small grain of sand. You are now existing and understanding all these types of experiences. And in that, that's what's wonderful about it. And that's where I got from that book. And then there's just a lot of better stories throughout. I remember the end where the grandfather, I believe, was nearing death, and he legit took a horse, ran out to the sea, and like threw all his armor into the ocean and just let go of his past. And then shortly after that event, he passed away. There's just so many great stories in there. Do check that out. The Zen of Archery. Just pretty much more or less how to let your mind go into like a flow state where you're not trying to think. Just allow the body to just go through its motion. Trusting in that all the practice you've done prior is just going to allow you to just clear and allow the result to happen. Like the best way I can explain it is like an archer who draws his bow and does all the steps right, releases the arrow. He cannot astral project and just go touch the arrow and move it to where it is. He has to just release and let the arrow do its job. All the things he did prior, that's all he can focus on. And when he clears his mind and stops stressing on all the steps and just allows the body to do its work after so many reps, it will just allow the arrow to do its thing. And that's all you can do. Very good read. Check it out. Book, The 5 Books, Miyamoto Musashi. His book deals a lot more with like the external world and inner. But you can get that understanding of the external better because of how he takes his life experiences and distills them into these books. And then The Art of War. Just pretty much like the line I liked was like, let your plans be dark as night and then strike like lightning. Not the exact quote. There's some words that I've implanted, but same type of way. You can understand strategy, how to look at things in the whole regard of the battlefield and act accordingly. So let's get the philosophy done. Philosophy and mastery, I'm going to put at A, and the books list, I'm going to put at B. Because there's some better philosophy ones out there. These were just ones that I've curated. And then memoirs. Memoirs are very important. They will talk of the people that have actually done things. So like you can go to people that have very good ideas and systematic thinking and so forth. Yet if the systematic thinker was Henry Ford, he wrote books. You should go read those books and understand his way of thinking. Same thing with Rockefeller and his letters and like what he wrote himself. Andrew Carnegie, The Gospel of Wealth. Those types of things are important to read. As well as like J. Paul Getty. Highly recommend him. You need to just go see how these great thinkers operated. How they did things. Now you may be like, Phil, that's a monopoly. Yeah, they were monopolies, but you have to understand how they think. Take the parts away that they've done extremely well in business and then omit the parts that are not allowed today. Because a lot of their things is principle-based that still apply today. You still have to rework it, use innovation, put things together, 2 and 2 together, and see what comes about. Even Benjamin Franklin's memoirs. It's important. Phil Knight, how would you go? Michael Dell, Howard Schultz, Andy S. Grove, he passed away, but awesome dude. Walter Isaacson, Steve Jobs, Elon Musk. Heck, you got NVIDIA Way. That was a memoir on Jensen Huang and like NVIDIA as a whole. There's so many more. Who else? One of my best memoirs that I like was Art Williams, the coach. It talked about him making Primerica and so forth. Well, it was actually A.R. Williams in the beginning. Arthur Williams Insurance Company. Then it shifted to Primerica later on. But yeah, that was a phenomenal read. That book made me cry. Like legit, I was crying through the pages because it showcased all the great things that led up, and then he left the company into like the shareholders. He stepped down and it just wasn't the same. And I was like, And when breath becomes air. And the message in the middle of nowhere. Fudge. These two books are great. When breath becomes air, I cried as well. Because that one was like, cease not until death. And each type of a man that just is persevering, persisting and resisting, and just going forward, not allowing something to hold him back. Even if he is not at full capacity, he's still doing. And then the message in the middle of nowhere was like Icelandic sales philosophy that was just like, even with all these setbacks, he kept pushing and pushing and understanding, like reading the like Brian Tracy. I think he even did Tom Hopkins. Don't quote me on that, but he just kept reading and just doing things. And it was like out of the norm for people there. They were just like, ease. Not everyone's just going to be a billionaire type of mentality. It's just like, or a millionaire, just like go with the flow type way. But he went after it, and that was something marvelous. So let's go here. Memoir. I'm going to put S tier, book-wise. S tier. Those two are great. Reference and knowledge. So pretty much like encyclopedia and just like an overall great one book and done. Like it goes over the whole span. And then Big Ideas Simply Explained. I love these books. Big Ideas Simply Explained goes over a topic and then has so many sources of like types of people and their discoveries, and just gives reference and like cool little images that just describe what's going on. If you're ever confused about an area that you want to understand, I highly recommend picking up one of the books and doing it. So one book that I grabbed from here that I loved was the criminal psychology one. I don't think it was called criminal psychology. It was like Criminal Ways, Big Ideas Simply Explained. But it pretty much showcased every type of criminal type of way things have happened throughout history, and pretty much explained it phenomenally. And then they did psychology as well. Flippin' went through every psychologist that was up to the point of that year and just hammered out and showcased like great thinkers. I was just like, wow. Then the second one is NOLO Law, How to Represent Yourself in Court. Reason I put this one there, you need to understand law. Like in today's world with large language models, your ability to understand law, pull out better terms, and in general just like speak in a better repertoire that's lawyer acumen is going to get better reception to someone that's unknown to it. So if you go walk in and you're like, I don't know, I just have these documents and pass it to a lawyer. Yeah, they can do a great job. Yet if you don't understand something and he just does his work and you're just trusting it blindly, he might mess up and you can't double check that or say, hey, we need to navigate this because there's this part and so forth. So having your P's and Q's in line and understanding like the whole process, it gives you an edge. So you're not shaking at court like, I don't know what to do. And that's very bad. So keep that in mind. So reference knowledge, A tier. And the books here, A tier. Relationships, I'm just going to do this quick. I'm going to put at C tier, and the 5 love languages, C tier. All right, let me go back. Are you serious? All right, so relationships, it's important to read these, like communication, and then like how to understand like love as well. You do not want to just be like, I went to high school and you don't know how to like talk correctly, use the right words, see things, be a little playful, role play, use words, make them imagine. Imagination is key, desire, you don't just open your book and be like, I am free, look at me. No, it's like you want to play it where it's mystery a little bit, and also of security, where it's like comfort and so forth. It's always, think of it like a wave. It's ups and downs, and you want to figure out the balance. You don't want things just stagnant. Imagine if a stock just went and never went up or down. You would be like, yeah, it's stable. Just that. But there is no, if there's no risk in life, there is no benefit to living. A risk allows somebody to understand that if others just got all the stability, there's no risk that can differentiate you. Something that's not easy, yet you've put in the hours that everything just came together as what you've been doing. The 5 Love Languages by Gary Chapman. It's a great book. It's one of those books that I would say, would I say it's the most important? No. I would honestly go back to the Stoics and like understand their 5 words. But it's a very great way to understand like today, and just like maybe someone has gift giving or physical touch, and it's just like you're using a wrong type of language, so you might want to switch it up. Yeah, sigh. You want to just play it off and see what works. Honestly. And that's it. Oh, last one. Sales and Persuasion. Ooh. Oof. Ooh. Sales and Persuasion. Ooh. I had to step out of frame. I live by this one principle now. The days of saving are over. Reason being, it's not that you shouldn't have reserves on hand. No. The reason saving is over is because we went away from a gold standard. That's why you gotta be careful with saving. Because it's not holding its worth as strongly. If you just hold money under the bed cushion, it's not working. It's not invested. That's a big difference. Yet, if I only told you save money, but you have no ability to increase the value that you can get back in, you're playing a very dangerous game, and you're going to be going along the hamster wheel. So why sales and persuasion? Because it's going to allow you to scale. That's the whole thing. This is where you can scale. If you get this right, many things can come in. If you can innovate the greatest product in the world, if you have no sales or persuasion or outlets of marketing, and I would say sales before the marketing, because marketing is built off the sales. If your sales logic is perfect or near perfect, because there's always improvements that can be done, the marketing will be the byproduct of it because it's just that well designed. So if you get these right, and then it bridges off those same frameworks, it's huge. So what we have here is The Coach. It's a memoir, but it also shows sales as well, because the ability to maneuver. And Art Williams did not want to be a salesman at all. He hated that word, but he felt so deeply that there was an injustice going on within the life insurance industry, where he saw that whole life and universal life were not the best options for people who didn't understand how they worked. A term would operate better for what their financial needs were. Yeah, everyone went to the other ones because they were higher commission rates, and that just gave the life insurance agents more of a paycheck. Ka-ching, great job. but it's also the detriment to other people that buy these thinking that they're secure and they're not. He went after it. He was flipping relentless. He was a football coach and took those same type of logic and went hard into here. And it shows. Making the tough calls, but also adhering to strict principles of for the people inside the organization. And what you do is your works, and you should be reaping off that. The Art of the Sale by Tom Hopkins. This one is great. It doesn't outbeat the New Sale Model of Selling by Jeremy Miner and Jeremy Acuff. That one is S tier. This one is A minus tier, if I could give that. Because it has the word choices that you can use. It's just some of those like power closes are not the best ones it can destroy. But there's some good power closes in there. I would just put them into a large language model and like say make them like Jeremy Miner and just add his twist and it would make them perfect. But his book is a must read. It's a great starting off point to understand like the whole sales art. I would honestly recommend that before The Secrets of the Sale by Zig Ziglar. Because Zig Ziglar was more like principle-based thinking. If your principles are right, then the sales would just be falling after. New Model of Selling by Jeremy Miner and Jeremy Acuff. This is where I would say Jeremy Miner is our best salesperson of our day. No questions asked. He is probably the Zig Ziglar, Brian Tracy, Tom Hopkins, Jordan Belfort, all into one. No questions asked. There's others out there, and I'm not trying to discredit them. There's probably great ones, but from what I read with his stuff locks in. There is no joke about it. His track record's there. Is it like perfect? There's no perfection in it. There's always work that can be done, but his framework is super great. I can't knock it. There is Jeffrey Gottmer, too, and they do say he takes a lot from there, and I do agree. But Jeremy puts his own twist on it, and that's where it's like he's getting out there more. Jeffrey isn't as much. In today's moving society, Jeremy is more relevant, and that's what's important because people are exhausted. And the sales rep has gotten a bad rep. You do not want that association. You want to change the way that people associate you. And that's key. I'm not going too much into there. Pick it up. Challenger Sale. You just need to read it one time, and Gap Selling. Just read them as like the duo. If you understand both of these together, you're going to be great. And then I'll add a bonus. Read Spin Sales. Don't read Spin Sales to take all the frameworks out of it. Just read it once, but understand the 4 logics of it. Situation, problem, implication, and need to pay off. If you get totally blanked calling somebody, just remember that and just figure out which part of the stage you're in and see where you can transition. The beginning and the end are the most important parts, and that's what I'll say. In the middle, you don't want to be BSing in the middle as much. Yet you want to have enough merit so it works. And I'm going to leave it at that. And then The Way of the Wolf, Jordan Belfort, I would say B+. I'll give it that. I think The Art of the Sale is a little better than The Way of Wolf. Art of the Sale, it just uses the words that you can put in immediately. It's not to knock on Jordan Belfort, because his way is very good at like understanding how trust is like a fluctuating. It's not just like a staircase. And that was like one great way of building up trust. So yeah, let's finish this off. Sales and Persuasion. A tier. And the book list. is A. Now let me go back over. I'm going to actually put reference and knowledge in D tier. And this is why I'm going to change it up. The two that I've given you, they are explicitly niche. It's tough to find the right ones. Because if you go into a dictionary and you just get everything, it can be a little dangerous. That's what just came to my mind. You'll get lost. So you got to find the right sources and the ones that go over the whole topic pretty well. So I have to be like reference and knowledge kind of D tier. The reason I put it high was because of those two books in that listing. But looking at it in general, you can get lost. So I'm just going to put that in D. And it's kind of my bad on my point. Yeah, this is how I would see of it. So this is that. This is my tier list. And we are good. So let me transition back. I want you guys to know, thank you for staying in for 1 hour of a tier list and seeing how everything works. This is my longest video yet. And I do have some things that I got to work on yet. You got the whole list and what I was explaining. If there was something that you liked, take it, run with it. If you didn't like it, forget it, unless there's consequences. Even though you might hate it with a passion, you got to take it. That's why I do payment gateways. You don't have to like me. I just want you to have the ability to transact so your idea has grounds to be rewarded, because you don't want to be doing things and never be rewarded. So I'm signing off. Deuces.